Life Science Week 6 Animals. Visit an invertebrate zoo. This week we're talking all about animals. What are animals? You might think of cats or dogs, but the term animal describes much more than mammals. An animal is any multicellular organism that moves and whose cells do not have cell walls. Animals are grouped into two categories: invertebrates without a backbone and vertebrates with a backbone, also known as a spine. Be careful on your spelling for those two words. You can probably name lots of vertebrate animals, but it might surprise you that invertebrates make up about 95% of all animals. Today we'll visit a special zoo featuring these many animals we rarely hear about, the invertebrates. Our first stop at the invertebrate zoo is the sponges, cnidarians, worms, and mollusks house. Are you surprised that sponges are animals? Well, sponges move so little that for many years we thought they were plants. Now we know that sponges are invertebrate animals, the oldest on Earth. Sponges live underwater and can reproduce sexually or asexually. Next, we approach a display of coral, sea anemones, and jellyfish, all examples of cnidarians. Cnidaria comes from a Greek word meaning sting. These animals live in water, and yes, they do sting. Moving along, we get to the wonderful worm hut. Yes, worms are also animals, and they can live in water, on land, or as parasites inside host animals. The next exhibit is full of snails, slugs, clams, oysters, and scallops, octopuses, and squid. This is the mollusk exhibit. Mollusks are soft-bodied animals that usually have some sort of shell. Snails and slugs can live on land or in water, but most other mollusks are underwater animals. Our next stop at the invertebrate zoo is the echinoderm and arthropod arena. We see a tank full of starfishes, sea stars, sea cucumbers, sea urchins, and sand dollars. These are the echinoderms, a name that means spiny skin. If you remember from health, the word dermis means skin, so you can see that same root there. Echinoderms have a 5-part body and an internal skeleton and tube feet. They need to live in water to survive. Next, we see a display with 2 parts, one underwater and one on land. That's because arthropods can live on land or in water. Arthropods have jointed legs, which is where their name comes from. Some also have antennae, claws, and wings, but they also have an exoskeleton or rigid outer covering like a cricket or grasshopper. These animals must molt or shed their exoskeleton in order to grow. Arthropods reproduce sexually with 2 parents. The arthropods in the water tank are a special type called crustaceans, lobsters, crabs, and shrimp. On land, we find centipedes and millipedes and spiders and ticks. As you can see, our invertebrate zoo has lots of creatures we might not think of as animals. They aren't warm and fuzzy. They don't even have backbones, but they make up 95% of all animal life on our planet. Next, we'll learn more about familiar animals: fish, amphibians, birds, reptiles, and mammals. Down to STEM. One smart puppy. Do you ever spend some quiet time just sitting and talking with your dog? Ever look into a dog's eyes and sense their intelligence or fathom their wishes? Some dog trainers and experts say that certain dog breeds are actually more intelligent than others. They chalk it up to a dog's ability to learn and retain commands quickly, or to work with humans on important jobs. If you've ever seen service animals at work, like at the high school, you know they can be lifesavers. Service dogs help their owners by watching for dangerous situations, and some help by finding people after disasters. Still others help people simply by being pets and loving us unconditionally. A recent behavioral study at Warford College in Spartanburg, South Carolina, however, puts at least one pup at the head of the class. Psychologists at the college have put a border collie named Chaser to work. So far, she's learned to retrieve over 1,000 different objects. These objects are mostly her toys that have names, but Chaser's teachers also report she can categorize them, like organize them into sections. Nonetheless, some scientists think it sounds too smart to be true. They believe Chaser was trained to locate her toys by name when asked, and they pointed out she had extremely specialized training. Either way, you have to admit it. Chaser is one smart pup. Plus, look how cute she is. Oh my goodness. They're warm and fuzzy. They're mammals. Mammals first appeared on Earth about 200 million years ago. They evolved from a group of reptiles which are now extinct. Today there are more than 4,000 different types of mammals on Earth. They include humans, lions, whales, dogs, bats, and kangaroos. What do humans have in common with whales? Well, you know that scientists group organisms by shared characteristics. So mammals share some common characteristics. They have backbones. In other words, we are vertebrates. They're warm-blooded. You guys know this, but reptiles are cold-blooded. Even if someone is cold, it doesn't mean they're cold-blooded. All mammals are warm-blooded. They have hair or fur, and they nurse their young with milk. In addition, all mammals use their lungs to breathe air, even those that live in the ocean. Of all the animals, mammals have the most highly developed nervous system and brain, and most developed senses. The main way mammals differ is in how they reproduce. Egg-laying mammals, or monotremes, are the most primitive. There are only 2 known species of monotremes, the duck-billed platypus and the spiny anteater. Pouched mammals, or marsupials, give birth to a newborn that is not well developed. The young must live in a pouch-like structure on their mother for some time before emerging. Kangaroos, koalas, and opossums are examples of marsupials. The largest group, placental mammals, consists of mammals that carry their young in the placenta until they're more fully developed. Since there are so many placental mammals, scientists classify them by their eating habits, how they move around, or where they live. Placental mammals that eat animal flesh are called carnivores. So one that only eats meat is a carnivore. You can tell a flesh-eating mammal by its special teeth called canines. These are pointy teeth made for tearing meat. Humans have 4 canine teeth. Can you find yours? Most non-human carnivores have longer, sharper canines than humans, plus strong back legs for running and capturing prey. They also have sharp claws for holding prey. You can probably easily name land carnivores like tigers and wolves, but carnivores can also live in water. Some examples are walruses and seals, which eat fishes, birds, and mollusks. Some placental mammals eat insects. Some examples are hedgehogs, moles, and shrews. Another type of placental mammal can fly. Can you guess what it is? That's right, it's a bat. Almost all bats eat insects, but some tropical or desert bats eat fruit. Some placental mammals, like the armadillo and the sloth, are toothless. They don't eat meat, just insects, leaves, and fruit. Many placental mammals are herbivores, which means they eat only plant matter. So an omnivore eats meat and plants. An herbivore is strictly plants. The largest examples have hooves, like cows, horses, pigs, zebras, and giraffes. Gnawing mammals or rodents make up the largest number of mammals on Earth. Some examples are squirrels, mice, beavers, rats, chipmunks, and porcupines. A rodent has special teeth called incisors that continue to grow throughout its life. The rodent must gnaw or nibble on hard wood to keep these teeth worn down. If it doesn't, the teeth will grow too long, and the animal would not be able to open its mouth to eat. So a beaver that gnaws on wood and chops down trees and stuff, they're not just building their dam, they have to chew on something, or it's crazy, their teeth can grow and curl up inside their mouth and kill them. So it's also a survival thing. It's crazy. Some mammals, like rabbits and hares, are similar to rodents, except they don't have these incisors, so they do not have to gnaw on their food. Placental mammals that live in the water are whales, manatees, porpoises, and dolphins. They must come to the water's surface periodically to breathe air through a blowhole. Although they breathe air, they cannot survive on land. These animals nurse their young, and yes, even whales and dolphins have hair at some point in their lives. Maybe not very much, but they have hair. The last category of placental mammal is the primate, so like monkeys and stuff. All primates have eyes that face forward, 5 fingers on each hand and 5 toes on each foot, and large brains. Chimpanzees, gibbons, orangutans, gorillas, baboons, monkeys, and humans are all primates. Primates are considered the most intelligent mammals. Apart from humans, many primates are able to make and use tools, including chimpanzees, bonobos, and orangutans. Insects. Insects are arthropods, and they are by far the most plentiful animal on our planet. In fact, scientists estimate that there are 300 million insects. Oh, I lost my spot. For every human on Earth. Insects have a body divided into 3 parts. So this is important to know. The head, the chest, and the abdomen. The head, or also known as the thorax, is the chest and the abdomen. You know that all insects are arthropods, so you know that their legs bend. Every insect has 6 legs, or 3 sets, which are attached to the chest. Most insects have wings and can fly. Many have compound eyes, which contain many lenses and can detect movement from all around the insect. Because they are arthropods, all insects must shed their exoskeleton when they grow. Some insects' appearance changes dramatically as they grow. This process is known as metamorphosis, such as a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. like caterpillar eating, make a cocoon, become a butterfly. That process is metamorphosis. Some insects, like butterflies, beetles, and bees, undergo complete metamorphosis, passing through 4 stages of growth. The first stage is the egg, which hatches into the second stage, a larva. The larva of a butterfly is a caterpillar. The larva of a housefly is a maggot. A larva spends almost all of its time eating, so it can gain strength and grow into the third stage, the pupa. During the pupa stage, the insect wraps itself in a cocoon or chrysalis. Soon, an adult insect emerges. The adult looks and behaves very differently than it did as a larva and pupa. Insects reproduce sexually with 2 parents. Most insects live alone, but social insects like ants and bees cannot survive without their colonies or hives. They have a rigid social structure with different jobs and functions assigned to each member of the group. This structure ensures the colony or hive will survive and produce new insects. Insects are vital to the survival of plants and animals. They pollinate plants as they fly from flower to flower, searching for nectar or pollen. They also supply food for larger animals like reptiles, birds, fish, and amphibians. There are even some mammals like anteaters and sloths that think insects make a tasty meal. And Timon and Pumbaa, right? They really like insects. Cold-blooded animals. You've already learned that 95% of animals are invertebrates, but what about the other 5%? Well, those are the animals with a backbone. That's important because the backbone protects the spinal cord, which contains the nerves that travel from the animal's body to its brain. Vertebrates have more highly developed brains and nervous systems than invertebrates. Vertebrates can either be cold-blooded or warm-blooded. Cold-blooded animals do not produce their own body heat. Instead, they must rely on their surroundings to get heat or to cool off. So that's why you see turtles and snakes on rocks sunbathing. It's to absorb heat. Fish are other amazing examples of cold-blooded animals. Fish are equipped with gills, fins, and scales that allow them to survive underwater. Gills draw oxygen from water, replacing the need for lungs. Fins allow easy movement, and scales offer protection from predators. Fish reproduce sexually, usually by laying eggs in a safe place. However, in some species of fish, the eggs develop inside the mother's body. Some fish are equipped with rigid bone skeletons, while others rely on more flexible cartilage skeletons. So cartilage is what sharks are made of, except their jaw. Cartilage is also the material that our ears and nose are made of. So that's why when you see skeletons, you don't see ear or nose bones, because they're not actually bone, they're cartilage. Amphibians are also cold-blooded. Amphibians are special because when they're young, they are like fish, living in water and breathing through gills, but as adults they live on land, breathe air with lungs, and have moist skin. That's why you see amphibians like frogs, toads, and salamanders living near ponds and rivers. They need to keep their skin damp to regulate their temperature. Some amphibians lay soft-sided eggs in watery areas. When the eggs hatch, the young have tails and gills for underwater breathing. As they mature, the amphibians move to land. Some, like frogs, lose their tails. Others, like salamanders, keep their tails as adults. Reptiles are the third category of cold-blooded animals. Snakes, turtles, crocodiles, lizards, and iguanas are all reptiles. Reptiles are vertebrates that live their entire lives out of the water. Their tough, scaly skin keeps moisture inside them. Their eggs have a protective shell, so they don't have to be laid in watery areas. And their lungs are more developed, so they can breathe air throughout their lives. Although reptiles can live on land, some prefer to spend most of their time in the water, like alligators, crocodiles, and sea turtles. There's accidentally an extra A there, so you can just cross it off if it bugs you. Birds. Birds' colorful appearance, sing-song chirping, and ability to fly make them one of the most beloved animals, or spookiest, who knows. Some people even keep birds as pets. Besides mammals, birds are the only other warm-blooded animals. Birds are egg-laying, feathered vertebrates. The most important feature of birds is their feathers. Feathers keep the bird warm, provide lift during flight, and act as camouflage or as attention getters for mating. Birds' bones are hollow so they can be light enough for flight, and birds' brains are highly developed. Their sense of sight and smell is far better than ours. Birds can eat fruit, seeds, or insects. Some birds, like hawks and eagles, hunt fish and small mammals for food. Others, like vultures, eat remains of already dead animals. You see eagles do that too sometimes. Whatever they eat a lot of it. Birds must eat a lot of food to keep themselves warm. It also takes lots of energy to fly. Birds lay eggs with shells that are similar to reptile eggs. They care for the eggs before and after they hatch. Many birds migrate to warmer climates and weather in winter, and we all have seen examples of birds' nesting behavior. Some live in trees, while others, like ducks, have webbed feet and live on or near rivers and lakes. Over many years, some birds, like the penguin and ostrich, have lost their ability to fly. Scientists believe all birds evolved from a now extinct dinosaur that lived 140 million years ago, called the Archaeopteryx. Although it had sharp teeth and claws, this dinosaur definitely had wings and feathers too. It just might be the ancestor of today's birds. They say that birds are more closely related to dinosaurs than reptiles are, and that fact still kind of blows me away. So anyway, fun stuff. Happy learning. Keep up the good work, 6th grade.